Hello, everyone. I am extremely excited to have you here with us today. I'm again with Dietrich Snyder, our registered dietitian, contributor to content and research. And as always, Resync provides you with information to help you live a healthier life. And of course, it's based on research, quality information that it's not easily found or even could be found anywhere online or any social media, not in YouTube. So today I'm excited because the information we'll share with you will have to do everything about beet related products. Beets in itself as a vegetable, and then what quality and what form of beet product you as a consumer could be, not necessarily should, could be looking at, and what to watch for when buying one to get the highest quality and to understand that the form the beet is in the container will tell you what power and potential it may have for changing your performance or health, depending on what reason you're buying the product for. So without actually understanding what form and how much of it you need to take, I think you are making just a guess, and as intelligent guess as you know what, can. So today we want to help you. We want to help you to make a better decision with the right information. So the next time when you will go to a store, when you will go on Amazon, when you will go to any third-party website, you will know what to look for, and not just the main ingredients, but the other ingredients on the bottom that will tell you a lot about potential fillers, synthetics, and things that you want to avoid at all costs. So, Dietrich, today, a lot of the information is beet powder, beet extract, beet juice, beet concentrate, beet all together, and how not just even professional athlete, but a general population just like you and me who care about what do we put inside of the body, what do we need to pay attention to. So I would like you to, let's just have a, conversation about what your wife, my husband, my friends, my dad, what they really need to pay attention when they buy any beet product and why it matters.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for the intro, Barbara. And I mean, this is such an important topic because I see it all the time in practice. You know, I make a recommendation for a supplement, any supplement, or maybe somebody gets a recommendation from a friend, and maybe that supplement has, valuable use for them, but, I get a picture of that, or they tell me what, a patient tells me what kind of supplement they're taking. And I realize that they've only looked at the front of the label, and it's got, the key ingredient listed in bright bold letters on the front. But really, when you turn the label around and check out the ingredients on the back and the nutrition facts, supplement facts, what have you, you see like, oh, this is not actually going to be a product that truly supports my health, because honestly, it just doesn't provide the right ingredients in the right dose to actually create any sort of an effect. So this topic of standardization, I think, is so important and just absent. Nobody knows what to look for when it comes to standardization. Nobody even knows that that's a thing to be looking for. And so I'm really happy that we're taking the time here today to help people navigate the back of the supplement label to try to understand, is this a product that's going to serve me? So yes. Yeah, standardization is the topic for today. Just defining standardization, because it's not exactly obvious all the time. My kind of conversational definition that I use is that basically it's just an indication that there's a consistent level of an ingredient. Today we're talking about beets, we're talking about other nitrate products, things that'll boost nitric oxide levels. And, for many of those products, the effective ingredient is a nitrate. And the issue is when you go to the source, when you go to the beets or the whole food sources of those, the nitrate content can vary tenfold. Even in the same field, when you look at the research studies, you can, I won't get into the details too much, but it's just wild how inconsistent beets are, specifically in their nitrate content. Mm-hmm. And so this point of standardization is key for you to know, how much of this product should I be taking in order to get the effects I've seen in research studies or something like that, as well as, is this product going to you know, am I going to run into other issues with this product? You know, if there's no standardization, you know, you're not really sure what else might be in there or might not be in there. And so, you know, you then have to go to the ingredients label and try to figure out, you know, are there filler ingredients in here that they use to kind of bump the levels?
Like
Are
the
there,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, so yeah, to take an example, I mean, just take a look at a beet juice product. You know, you can find, you know, you turn around on the top of the label, it should say something like X% juice. Some beet juice products are 2% juice, and then you see the red food coloring, apple juice to fill it up, and maybe, I don't know, maybe a little bit of sugar, or maybe they spiked it with something else. And you compare that to a really high quality beet juice product, and it'll say, you know, 100% beet juice. Now, the issue with this analogy is that we're just talking about percent juice. That's not exactly percent standardization. But I think the same kind of thinking applies where, you know, if you're going to decide between a 2% juice product or a 100% juice product, what's going to be healthier? The 100% juice is going to support your health goals more. Whereas, you know, taking this to standardization, if you've got a beet product that's standardized to, I don't know, 1.5% nitrates, you can compare that to a different source of nitrate that, you know, red spinach extract, we're definitely going to be getting into that, is one of the most highly concentrated sources of nitrates out there. It gets standardized to somewhere around 9%. So, I mean, when you're trying to think of the dose you need to take in order of a 2% product versus a 9% product, you might have to take 4 times, 5 times, 6 times as much just to get the same level of an actual effect. So I think that's one way that really hits home with people when we're talking about value and talking about, you know, how much of something. You're going to blow through that bottle of 2% standardized supplement. I mean, you're going to go through that in a week versus something that's you can take, you know, 1/6 of the amount of, because it's standardized to a higher percentage. You're going to be able to, that's going to last you a long time, and it's going to provide some high quality value. It's going to, you know, help you improve the health where you want it to.
As always, Dietrich, I appreciate when we exactly break things down for everyone listening who may not be an expert in nitric oxide, who may not be in the field, who may not know exactly what questions to ask and how the product can deteriorate nutritionally going through the process. Yes. But once you take the beet and you make an extract, the challenge that Dietrich you are talking about, and I want people to understand, is that extract of that beet is probably the highest quality of an extract, depending how the extract is, of course, made and processed, to get the highest standardization for the nitrates. Regardless, beet, because it's so inconsistent, no company in the world, not just even US, was able to standardize the beet in itself without adding additional ingredients into it. Sometimes, in most cases, there are synthetics to spike the levels. There is one company in UK that found a way. They don't describe it. They say they have a patent for it. We respect this. We're not having this conversation today about that. This is more about educating people that yes, beets are inconsistent in nature. And then if you don't eat beets, what is the best bet as a supplement from beet that you can get? So one, extract. It is not going to be more standardized to 2.5% naturally. If company decided to standardize higher, they need to use synthetics. Then you get a beet powder, and that doesn't usually come as a standardized product. So what does it mean? Company takes the beet, they ground it, and however the beet came to them with whatever standardization, they didn't care about the standardization. They didn't want to put on the label, certificate of analysis. You don't know, and the company that buys from them doesn't know either. So powder is used in many of the products. And that in itself, even though somebody can say, well, it's a clean because you took just the beet and you grounded the beet and all the value is there. That doesn't work like that in a process. And then next would be making a beet juice of that, and a beet juice powder, and a beet concentrate, and everything after the extract is not standardized. Usually it's not, right? And if it is even, the beet standardization is very low compared to, like you said, red spinach. So to keep it high, anywhere even close to red spinach, you need to use synthetics.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's a kind of a really the best way to express. So after beet, and we can eat so many pounds of beet, especially if you're a performer, you're about to go to a field or run a marathon, or you have a busy day. What do? Well, you grab the next best option, which could be a beet extract or beet powder, but you need to understand it's not going to be standardized, most likely in United States, because nobody came up with it yet. And if they are going to standardize it, most likely there are synthetics involved. And that's what standardization really is about in a beet in itself versus other ingredients. And even though Dietrich, you and I know there are better choices of natural nitrates, red spinach, arugula, bok choy, and so, only red spinach is the only ingredient on the market that actually standardized to 9%. All the vegetables are very good to eat and consume, absolutely. But nobody came out with the ingredient that is standardized to a certain level, that with each dose you get the consistency. And I think that's super important for the viewers to understand. Beet is good for you. We're not saying it's not. We use beet in our products, but I don't rely on beet in itself because I understand the underlying issue with standardization inconsistency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I hope we can later in this recording get into, why you've used this synergistic blend in Resync. But, just for while we're on the topic, I love, this. I've got a friend who is, a pharmacist. Really, we have great conversations about supplements and exercise physiology. He's a professional amateur cyclist, triathlete. And I asked him about his pre-race routine, and he said, well, 3 days before, I've read the research papers, so I start eating 3 big beets a day for 3 days leading up to the race. And I asked him, well, how does that make your stomach feel? Because I'm a dietitian. I want everybody to be eating more vegetables, but there is a limit. And I don't know, for me personally, and for a lot of the clients I work with, 3 beets a day is just, it's too much. That's so much vegetable matter. That's a lot of good fiber, but it can cause bloating, it can cause gut pain. And on race day, that's not what you want. And so when it comes to, just general health, yeah, these high nitrate natural vegetable sources that you're talking about are really great for just general health because, honestly, you might not need that standardized, amount if, you're just trying to maintain a good, healthy, balanced diet. So, spinach, arugula, even beets, all of these ingredients help contribute to that nitrate amount. But if you're looking for specific benefits seen in research or something that you've seen with a professional athlete, you really do have to double down, take a good look, and make sure what you're eating is providing the ingredients that you're trying to get. Hence this conversation about standardization. So the natural sources are so variable, but we do have options available. We just have to look for them. And that's in that looking for the standardized percent there.
Yes, and I think it might be a good, maybe a place, and you tell me if you would agree, if people want to learn more how the variability is really visible in one product to another. And I was lucky in 2018, a professor from IUPUI reached out to me, Professor Kogan, and said that he actually purchased Resync Recovery back then, and he compared it to other beet-related products. And my heart just stopped for a second because I really didn't know what he meant. And he goes, well, you probably want to know that your product, in a way of comparing the nitrates level in the beet-related products, did really well. You have the highest number. Did you know that? And I said, I've never tested against other products but I never wanted to rely just on beets, knowing how inconsistent in nature they are. I value them. That's why I have them in each of our products. Even our newest, sparkling functional beverage has beets and red spinach and aronia, because that's our core. We know the value of the natural nitrates, antioxidants, and them combining them together. But I even didn't know how much, depending on concentrate, juice, powder, extract, the variability can be, until exactly that comparison came out to me, and I was made aware of the on premises in IUPUI study that the professor did with one of his students. And the study was, let's say the study was published, resync was not included. I want to make sure people actually know that. The reason it wasn't included, because they've realized that it's not fair to the companies that just use beets to be put against somebody who uses additional valuable ingredients, better for you, maybe more powerful than beet alone. And I only wish that we were mentioned, and that was mentioned, that there is the distinction, that there should be the awareness of that. For whatever reasons, and we will not try to be political here, it wasn't mentioned. Nonetheless, the variability is obvious. It's obvious to the research community, it's obvious to the pharmaceutical community, it's obvious to the medical community, and it's time for you to understand it as well. So Dietrich, what do you think, what else should we include in our conversation here?
Well, I would say it was no surprise when that information came, when Coggin reached out and shared that data privately with you, saying like, yeah, look at your product, it's performing twice as well as the next one in line. There was no surprise to me, because you use high quality ingredients, you standardize these ingredients, you certify these ingredients for quality. I mean, Resync checks every box that you're looking for in a high quality supplement. That's why I've made recommendations of it, and I wouldn't settle for anything less.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I think maybe the takeaway is, first, we've got this graph listed on the Resync website. So if you want to take a look at the individual brands and how they stack up against each other through that study, take a look there. But just for those who are just listening now or watching it now, the main takeaways I see are that beet powders are, I don't want to say they're worthless. They may have a place, but they're so variable that, it seems like some beet powders don't have any nitrates in them. How can you get away with creating a beet product that doesn't have nitrates? And the answer is you just buy the cheapest ingredient, you don't test it, you grind it down into a powder and push it out in a bag. That's the process. So the next one I would say is beet juices. They seem to be, performing a little bit better than the beet powders, but again, huge variability, 10x variability, depending on the brand you're looking at. So, they taste good, in my opinion. Not everybody likes them.
Not everyone likes the taste of a sugar, and then taste of a beet. And then another one is the sugar level, which is the biggest enemy of our connective tissue, our metabolic. Could we just say metabolic body, or is that a push?
No, I would say, you look at any metabolic pathway and the effects of sugar are pretty generally negative. If you're taking a small amount of some sugary product while you're, performing a personal record or something, that might help boost your performance, but it really has to be taken into context of what effect does that have on your overall metabolism? Is that really going to be supporting you? And that's, an issue you run into beet juice. If you were to take the leading brand and try to get the same amount of nitrates in, say, the Resync supplement or the Resync recovery supplement, you'd have to take something like 32 ounces or maybe even 2 liters of for some of these beet products, you'd have to drink gallons just to get that amount of nitrate. And that is a lot of sugar. So next up are the concentrates. They do a little bit better with giving you a good amount of nitrate, like an amount that would actually show up in your performance or in your heart health or cardiovascular health or something like that. But again, if you're concentrating the juice, you're also concentrating the sugar. And so these products are, they're super tasty, but that's because they're just full of sugar. And I don't know if that's going to really be all that helpful for the majority of people who are trying to watch their health. So
I know.
It then comes down to the standardized products that really shine here. And when you look at the top 5, there's it's clear who pays the most attention to the quality in their product.
Yes, and I think it's super important as well, Dietrich, the distinction when people get caught up very frequently on words that don't really matter in this case: organic, non-organic, and they're actually misunderstood, right? You and I had this conversation, so let's mention to people that there's a different farming methods, organic and non-organic. That's not what we're talking about when speaking about nitrates. When it comes to nitrates, the actually organic nitrates are used in pharmaceutical companies, in medicine. Those are the synthetic compounds, but they are considered organic nitrates. That doesn't mean that the ingredients they're using were grown organically by a farmers. Has nothing to do with it. Actually, the farmers make inorganic nitrates that come from the fruits and vegetables. Those are your inorganic healthy nitrates that you see in different vegetables and fruits on different levels. That is a very important, because sometimes we just came back from Boston Marathon, and the question I got quite a lot at the booth was, is your product organic? And I said, it's not. By a FDA rules, it needs to be, I think, 96 to 98%, depending, right? We were discussing it on another video of what really matters: organic, hormone-free, and other things. So if you didn't really watch that video, go and check on Resync. It was a fantastic video. We elaborate different, I would say, phrases, different statements very frequently utilized to benefit and not benefit of a company, and simply to educate you what's better for you again. But the point is here that the organic and non-organic is very misunderstood when it comes to nitrates, because people think, oh, I've heard organic nitrates are the way to go. The organic nitrates are in medicine that people very frequently plateau with, and you can plateau with any product, we know that, right? So now, from a research and a health professional point of view, you tell me if I explained that correctly to our viewers.
Oh yeah, I think all of that checks out. I mean, organic nitrates are drugs like nitroglycerin and isosorbide dinitrate, things like that your cardiac doctor has probably prescribed, whereas inorganic nitrates are what you find from nature. You can make them synthetically as well, but
sure,
it's one thing to note that when you're comparing the synthetic versus the non-synthetic nitrates, it does make a difference whether you're choosing something that's natural versus synthetic. With some things, maybe that doesn't make a big one, but I mean, the research studies are very clear. If you take the same dose of a synthetic nitrate that some of these products are filled in with, compare that to the same dose of a nitrate that comes from beets or comes from red spinach or some other nitrate source, you see that when it comes to heart health, when it comes to performance enhancement or recovery, the natural sources do more for you. And it's really interesting. We could get into all the reasons why. I think largely because of the antioxidants that are present in these natural products. But I think it's a little difficult to keep track of all the different ways that you can boost nitrate levels. There's the pharmacological the pharmacological organic nitrates. There's the non-pharmacological nitrate supplements. There's the synthetic nitrates. There's there's citrulline and arginine. Those were pretty popular, I would say, 10, 20, 30 years ago. And the research has shown that either they don't work or they hardly work. Our bodies adapt to them immediately. Yeah. So, I mean, we could probably fill a whole video on research showing that citrulline and arginine aren't the best choices. But I think we can suffice it to say that, if you're looking for a supplement that really packs in the results, you're going to want to look for a standardized supplement and one that is standardized to a high level. So beets are pretty much out. If you can only concentrate those nitrates to about 2%, you're going to have to just take so much just to get the same effect that you'd see with a small amount of something like red spinach. So yeah, I mean, you bring up the different ways to boost nitrate levels, and it always bears mentioning, take a look at the research or find, a reputable source of content that can help you navigate, what is going to be serving, my health goals here.
Yeah, and I think it's very important. We are not here to tell you not to take your beets, to eat your beets. We're not telling you to stop taking your beet powder product. We are here to share with you information that really matters for a quality understanding. And listen, if you have nothing against synthetics, keep on going. We're not saying we are telling you not to. I want you to understand that majority of products that are beet related, beet powder, beet extract only, most likely on the other ingredients will have additional ingredients, synthetic ingredients that are there for the purpose to spike the nitrates levels. If they don't, then they may not have as much of the power as you would hope for when buying the product. So you need to ask yourself, what do you want? You want a less, powerful product, or do you not mind synthetics? Or do you really want to stay with the plant-based way and go into something different that has additional value than just beets alone? Or you want to stay with the old-fashioned arginine L-citrulline, which science is telling us that people are staying away from it because of different repercussions for even a brain function. And I hope that today the video will contribute to your wealth of knowledge, that you will understand what to look for specifically when buying any beet-related product. And I think that would nicely just summarize that quality matters, the right quantity matters, and then additionally, if you really care about the quality, remember that it is not required by anyone, and FDA doesn't look after supplements for any kind of testing. So it's my job as the CEO to put this product and every product supplement through third-party testing. So you have NSF certified for sport, which means that the finished product went through additional quality test, that there is no banned substances inside that would trigger failing a test for professional athletes, and that also what's on the label in the quantity that we say it is, it's actually inside of the product. And if a product was not certified, regardless if it's organic or not, if it's certified organic or certified vegan, it doesn't test for the things that NSF, BSCG, Informed Sport on a lower quality or quantity, I would say, of different ingredients test. Those are just few of the companies based in the United States that take supplements and test them for those things, yes, which is very important and really could be, I don't want to use the word should, it's not my place to tell you what to do. I just want to share with you information that will help you by the end of the day make a better, healthier for you decision.